Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Welcome to UFO Buster Radio with your hosts, Manny Moonraker and Big O.
Welcome to UFO Buster Radio with your hosts, Manny Moonraker and Big O.
What's up, Big O? We're here.
Hey, I was wondering. I did the intro today. I feel kind of weird.
Well, I figure since you kind of went turncoat.
Oh, no.
You could do the intro this time.
Oh, you hear that, Dave? Jeez. Okay.
Yeah, but think about the perks. I mean, you just did the intro. Come on.
Well, yeah, I guess that means I have to go on another show to see if I could do the intro and the end.
Right. So you want it from both ends.
Explicit.
So anyway, listen, just so that people know, we're not the regular old cookie-cutter paranormal UFO show. We tend to get things a little crazy.
Yeah, we like to throw in our, opinions, our blue-collar point of view, and I hope you guys enjoy it. As a matter of fact, we have a few that says something about it, right, Manny?
We sure do. So we just want to give a special shout-out to these individuals because they took time to send us a message or participate on our many platforms that we're located on. So, just going from the top of the list, we want to give a special thanks to Who Took My Mojo, Jim Casa, La Montiego 37, Cupcake Birth, William,
hey, Cupcake,
William, Jerry Dan UFO, and the crew, of course, at Dave in the Morning Show.
Hey, Dave. And, and Marty. Don't forget Marty.
And Marty, and Donna, which I think they're all part of the Dave in the Morning Show.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about today?
Well, before we do that, we just want to make sure that we want to reach out to our listeners. We know we have plenty of listeners out there, and we want to thank you guys for listening to us. And we did call out some names because these guys sent us messages or made some kind of a comment about the show, and we want to make sure that we acknowledge everyone that listens to the show. And the more people, the merrier. Keep them coming.
Also, spread the word. If you like the show, give it to a neighbor. Give it to a dog. Give it to a cat. Because we all know that cats need something in their lives. They're so lazy as hell anyway. Do something. I appreciate every single listener who not only listens, but I especially love the ones that share. Sharing is caring.
So, to start the show, we're going to briefly mention a recent sighting. Or should I say government intervention?
Uh-oh. What they do again?
Here we go. I think that the take on this is not so much that the government was wrong, but more the media. And specifically, the media outlet Express.
So, you're telling me that the media got something wrong for Bowden?
Well,
really?
I think it's more like they kind of blew it out of proportion, you could say.
Really? The media?
The media.
Never happens.
Never. Never.
So what do they do?
The headline on the article is India's Roswell. Now, what does that tell you?
There was a Roswell incident in India?
Right, so you're thinking...
Something like government conspiracy cover-up, alien spaceship.
Bodies.
Yeah,
alien
everything.
Bodies.
All that good stuff.
The full caption is India's Roswell, first images of UFO shot down by Air Force revealed.
Okay, I think I read this a little while ago about that. Yeah.
What they actually shot down was a balloon.
It was a weather balloon, right? What ended up happening, if I think the story was that they found something. There was a blip on their radar, so they sent actual fighter jets after it, and they shot it down.
Right, so these balloons were shot down, but the reason why they shot it down was not because it was just a blip. It was because the balloons were coming from Pakistan, and they were thinking that maybe they might have some kind of a dangerous payload on them.
Oh, that makes sense.
So here we are, and the Express publication, of course, sets their headline, I guess in order to get more readership, says India's Roswell.
Oh, that's kind of messed up.
It is. And I think this is, someone recently asked me, why did we call the show UFO Buster Radio? And it's because of things like this. So, yeah. I think we can both say that we pretty much do believe that there is an extraterrestrial kind of origin to some, maybe a few low percentage of UFOs.
I do. There's too much of it to it not be something serious or something somewhat real. It's one thing if it's like once in a blue moon, but even if you go to different civilizations in human history, it all depicts something extraterrestrial, something. So there's too much evidence of it to be not there.
This type of article is the reason why we named the show UFO Buster Radio, because we like to bust things like this. Because here we go, a very captivating caption, and you're thinking, as someone that follows UFOs, oh my God, it happened again. But that's not what the story's about.
No, it's not. See, we're trying to separate between, people who are hoping that is a UFO incident and making something bigger than what it is, or hoax, and just trying to get popularity. We want everybody to know the truth. We want everybody to see, okay, this could be real, and give you our perspectives on it. And if it's not real or somebody messed up a goof, we want to point it out. And then, no, that ain't right.
So I tried many different ways to try to contact this author by the name of John Austin. And apparently he writes a lot of this UFO and paranormal stuff for Express. And of course I could not find a way to contact this person. So hopefully in the near future we'll be able to contact him and find out what's the deal. Why report things like this?
Yeah. It's one of those situations, like I said, that the moment anybody sees, especially some authors and especially some radio podcasts, they will see anything that has to do with UFO, the word UFO, and automatically link it to extraterrestrials and think it's the honest truth, whether it's a hoax or easily explained. And that's not what we're about.
So yeah, that was my rant. That's my bust for this week.
Your bust?
My bust. He got busted.
Okay. He got busted.
So we have some fascinating things to talk about in the Big O segment.
Yeah, in the ozone.
In the ozone. So let's get right to it.
Big O! It's showtime!
So what's going down in the ozone?
Well, we're going to talk about an interesting thing that happened actually last year, but they made it public this year. And not only did they make it public this year, this is based on a theory that's been around for about 100 years, and it was now just recently proven. We're going to talk about gravitational waves.
Oh, that's a great topic.
This is awesome, crazy, and Star Trek-like, which is cool.
This is one of those topics where people might look at it and say, yeah, who cares?
Yeah, that's true. And it's technically, right now, it's one of those we just discovered it type deal, but it could have huge implications on, space travel. or any type of travel. It's huge, I think. So this company called LIGO, or LIGO, they have what's called a laser interferometer gravitational wave observatory. Well, they have this laser interferometer.
And what does that do, Big O?
Oh, I'll be more than happy to tell you about it. So there's actually 2 of them in the United States, and they look like giant L. Now what it does, it will shoot a laser beam on each end, and the laser is being precisely measured. So if anything pulls on these ends and actually can measure the distance of the laser being pulled or shrunk, it could be almost measured. If it gets really hot and the expansion of the walls, they can actually measure how much it expanded. Crazy. Now, it picked up something though, which is cool. It picked up in, I believe, last year in September 15th, it picked up, oh, I'm sorry, on September 14th, I was close. September 14th, 2015, it picked up a gravitational wave, and it only lasted 0.25 seconds. It caused the entire structure to oscillate for approximately 35 cycles, which is crazy, but it's one thing that one of them did it. Actually, both structures, which are in 2 different places on the United States, are almost on 2 different ends of the United States, East Coast, West Coast thing. You know, the East side felt it first, and then the West side said West side, and they felt it too.
So it's almost like it got verified right there and then.
It what?
It's almost like it got verified.
Yes. It didn't. No. It didn't get verified right then and then. No. Because at first, they don't know. It could be anything. So after looking through the raw data, right, they didn't even want to come out with it until they have completely verified and almost triangulated and located and put a computer simulator on it. And they figured out that this was an actual gravitational wave, which was first theorized by Einstein 100 years ago, which is phenomenal. That is, quantum theory at work right there. 90% of quantum theory is all literally theories and hypotheses. Einstein hypothesized gravitational waves, and we just proved it 100 years later. That's
so the origin. What was the origin of the wave?
Okay, the origin happened millions of years ago. And they're saying it was 2 giant black holes swirling around each other. And
you say black holes?
Black hole. Black holes, yes. Let it go. 2 black holes swirling around each other, throwing out massive gravitational waves until finally they joined together, creating a giant one.
And this created this massive wave that hit us all the way over here.
Yep.
And now they say that this actually, the wave itself travels faster than light.
And not only does it travel faster than light, they say that it proves that there are black holes because of the simple fact that it was such energy and such force that hit us, it would have been brighter than the sun if it was any other object.
I know. I think I had goosebumps that day.
Did you?
I sure did.
I think so.
So when Big O and I first came across this article, we kind of discussed it a little bit, and my first initial reaction was, what does this have to do with UFOs? Which I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about that right now.
I think so too.
Yeah. So we came across someone that was an oldie but goodie of back in the day in the early 1970s. A man by the name of Bob Lazar. And Big O, we really haven't talked about Area 51 too much, have we?
Well, no, not really. Not to the point where, we haven't... I don't think we only scratched the surface on it, but go ahead.
So Bob Lazar actually claimed, and we say claimed because people... When you make a claim that you deal with the UFO and governments, your employment history tends to disappear.
Yeah.
So I don't think that people were able to verify his employment at Area 51 or how it's also known as a Groom Lake back in the 1980s. Apparently he was part of the engineering program, specifically with reverse engineering of certain UFOs. Now, there was someone who corroborated the fact that things were happening back at Area 51, a man by the name of David Adair, in his visit back in 1971. Now, Bob Lazar specifically made claims about the type of propulsion that the UFO at Area 51 used. And could you care to guess what type of propulsion it was?
Was it gravitational waves?
It sure was. According to Mr. Lazar, there were 3 gravity generators, and in one description of how it works, he said it would be like a gravity wave.
So I wonder, just out of curiosity, on September 15th, were there a lot of UFO sightings? Now I'm going to look that up.
Well, it's something that we can look up. But now, the UFO at Area 51 was creating its own gravity wave.
See, now that's cool. You see, that puts a lot of things in some perspective, because everybody wants to look at a UFO and how it changes direction so quickly, and how it doesn't make no noise, and how it accelerates so fast. Well, that could be a reason right there, because we didn't hear anything when these gravitational waves hit us on September 14th. We didn't even feel it, really. It was so faint. But imagine now that these spaceships are able to do the same thing and use that force.
So one of the cool things about gravity waves is that they tend to bend space and time. But here's a real catch to this. Here's what they call the rub. If we're able to detect a gravity wave from 1 million years ago, shouldn't we be able to detect a gravity wave that happens in our atmosphere?
Well, technically, maybe. I mean, it's technically a focused gravity wave. If you look at it, I guess you're right, but it would be like a ripple in a pond compared to a tsunami. When the difference between the two gravitational waves, a small gravity wave coming from a small spaceship probably won't affect a large area, unlike the event that happened on September 14th, which is probably why we're not detecting it. Now, on the other hand...
but just think about this. Who says we're not looking? And the other thing, too, is they're using lasers, so the area that they're looking at is not that big either.
Nope. At all. It's very minute. I think they were very, very lucky of actually seeing, being able to see and theorize that, there are actually gravitational waves. But now that it's out there will be tons of funding by somebody, and we're going to get down to business.
But you kind of see how that works. Now that it's public, now you see the public funding. Now you'll be able to see the funding where everyone can see. But according to Bob Lazar, they've been working with gravity waves since, the 70s?
And it almost makes you wonder, all the UFOs that we're seeing, are they really just man-made?
One day we will know.
So, I have a question that I want to give to the listeners. And for all the dedicated listeners and for all the new listeners. Here's my question. I want to ask you this question, Manny, because you ask me questions all the time. I have to answer it, and you give me a hard time. So I'm going to give you this question.
Whatever.
Here's my question. In the unlikely event that a extraterrestrial actually contacts you, what will you do or say? Because if you have to, and you have to think about this now.
So are they coming from where the black holes came from?
They literally are standing right in front of you, and you're basically an ambassador to the human race. Now, is it likely that's going to happen? No. Is it really going to happen? Probably not. Most likely not. But, hypothetically, and I want to give this to the listeners,
Now listen, if I answer it, you have to answer it too.
Alright, I will. If an extraterrestrial is standing directly in front of you and you're just staring at them, what would you say or do? Right? And remember, this is the most significant event in human history. You're making contact with an intelligent being, supposedly, what would you say or do?
Well, that's really easy. And there's just no bones about it.
Oh, please.
No bones about it. I will probably pee and poop myself and pass out.
All right. You see, I wasn't gonna say that. I'm gonna have to go back to my Star Trek roots and give them a sign of live long and prosper. For the only reason, not because I'm a Trekkie at all, but because the further out you go, the older the TV signals and the radio signals are. So if they're watching old school TV and they see Star Trek, hopefully they understand the symbol of live long and prosper.
And what symbol are you going to give them when they anal probe you?
See, that's why I hope they do the flashy thingy thing. And again with the anal probe. Anyway, so the listeners, I pose that same question to you. Now, my email is thebigo.com. DABIGO
NGO
82 at gmail.com. Feel free to let me know. I am going to post, or I'm going to say the results on the next episode.
So where did this question come from? Did you go around all week asking people what they would do?
I did.
Oh, okay. What kind of answers did you get?
One of them was pray. They was going to pray to God. They're religious. Another one was like, well, depending on how they look like, I don't want them touching me. Well, right? And the other, I got two more. One of them was, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to make sure they ain't going to do nothing to me. So...
And I'm thinking that every single one of them is going to be laying in a pool of excrement, passed out, just like me.
Yeah, probably. So, now I noticed there's a trend going on lately. The trend is, it seems like everybody is more accepting to the whole UFO thing. Now, ever since I started the show with you, Manny, I've been asking random people questions.
Hey, you have to record those.
No.
Yeah,
I'm
record them.
So the random people questions I'm asking is very simple. Do you believe in UFOs and extraterrestrials? Almost the same questions that you asked all those years ago. And 90% of the people would say, I don't think we've been visited, but I do believe there's something out there. Which is funny, because 10 years ago, I don't think you would have had the same response.
Yeah, probably not. But, it's kind of the conversations we've been having where it seems like every 2 or 3 months, there's a little glimpse of what's behind the curtain. You got them saying there's water on Mars. You got them saying, there's running water on one of the moons of Saturn or Jupiter or one of those. Then you have ice on Pluto, and it doesn't look as terrible as they assumed it looked a few decades ago. And so little by little, we're getting closer and closer to there is something out there.
Well, even if you really think about it, even some religions are not accepting the fact that there might be extraterrestrial activity. For example, the Vatican, believe it or not, I did not know this, and I don't know if you knew this, but the Vatican has an observatory. Now, I didn't know that a religion will want to look at the stars and be a part of science, really, because science and religion don't really get along a lot. But this one person named Brother Guy Waziano, he is the I want to say he's pretty much the head guy of the Vatican Observatory, the administrator. Yes, he is. So, he even stated that if he does not know, or he does not have any evidence of an extraterrestrial, but he feels that there's definitely something out there. And if he meets an alien, that will only push him into his faith even further. Which is mind-boggling.
The faith is something that people hold. And for many, your faith is what gives you strength, something to fall back on when things are at their worst.
I mean, I understand that, and for him to say that, I really appreciate him saying that for the simple fact that he believes in his faith so much that even seeing an extraterrestrial, which could have created us for all we know, he will still believe that his faith is completely unshook at all. That he will fall in love and be more into his faith if that will ever happen. He was even saying that it will be an awesome day to baptize the extraterrestrial. Really? Really?
Hey, everyone's got to be baptized at this point. But anyway, really, if you look at it, for someone in his position to say something like that, again, he's kind of reaching down into his scientific side, because the truth is there are billions and billions of galaxies with even more planets and stars in them, and solar systems, in numbering like what, 5-6 billion.
Yeah.
So
and
there's just it's an impossibility to think that the Earth is the only one that has a couple of few billion people on it.
They found supposedly they found multiple planets in these different solar systems that are in the supposed Goldilocks zone, which is, it's not too close to the sun, it's not too far from the sun, it's just right to make a perfect climate to make a life form. Now, let's get this straight. We're not looking for, microbes. We're not looking for life, really, in general. We're looking for intelligent life, right? So that way we can correlate to. So they're saying that there is not just a possibility, but every day the possibility keeps on getting higher for every new solar system that we find with more planets in the zone.
Well, and really, if you look at it, the path of the microbe or microbiology found in other planets is the way that we're being taken to.
Yeah?
Yeah, as the easy road of acceptance is really what it comes out to be.
Mm-hmm. Which, before when we first started the show, I was under the impression that, if we was to find out that there were extraterrestrials, depending on the extraterrestrial, it would be just bad news. And I kind of agreed with the government by not putting the information out there so many years ago, because it would create all kinds of anarchy and problems. But now, after talking with so many people about the subject, I'm really starting to think, I think we're ready.
I guess it has to be some kind of a sinister extraterrestrial out there. Someone that could possibly cause a lot of harm in order for the governments of the world to say, we're not ready yet. It's not time yet.
I think it's a different situation. You see, I think that the government has been saying, nope, we never talked to them. Nope, it don't exist for so long, and dug a hole so deep that if they finally say, oh yeah, we've been doing that for years, it would just look embarrassing for them. So they're going to just stay with that story until somebody else confirms, extraterrestrial life. And then they'll be like, oh, you found them? Guess what? We just found them too.
Well, yeah, I don't even think, I don't even think that really matters, because we had cigars in the White House, thanks to Bill Clinton.
Wow.
I mean, I'm being honest. We kind of just we took the cigar thing, we
didn't.
We turned on Monica Lewinsky. Well, yeah, she took the cigar, gave it to him. But the thing is, embarrassing moments like that come and go really easy.
Wow.
That's all I'm saying.
Look,
I'm sorry, Miss
You know
Lewinsky.
what? Because of you, I'm truly. This is my. All right, guys. This is my second computer. My first computer got a virus, and I have not been able to clear this virus yet. I think because of Manny, and I'm the crazy one, but I don't mess with the government. I'm not stupid. I'm crazy, but not stupid. So I'm the one who's getting affected. Did your computer mess up? Or is it just mine?
No, mine hasn't messed. Oh, you did actually about 2 weeks ago. But let me tell you,
Oh,
she can't
my God.
give you that. She can't give you that kind of virus.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Who, Monica or Hillary? No. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stay out of that one.
Oh, now you stay out. Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah, you're in trouble now. You said the H word.
So, we're going to go and we're going to start wrapping this up. But, once again, my email, you can email the show and you can call the show, leave us a message. And also, I'm going to send out my email one more time. I want this question that I asked answered. TheBigO82@gmail.com. DABIGO82@gmail.com. Please give me your answers. I'm going to talk about them, talk about your answers on the next show. Anything you got, Manny?
Well, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that our contact information in general will be listed in the description of the show, along with any of the content that we just talked about. We'll have links. And if you look at the previous shows, you'll see that if we find something on YouTube, we give credit to those individuals. We'll have their link on there. You can see their videos, audio, whatever it may be. But we also want to make sure that you guys are able to contact us, follow us on Twitter, Google+, Facebook. We're also on Facebook on the UFO Buster Radio. And we're here. We're here to talk with you guys and kind of listen to what you have to say about the topic of UFOs.
Especially if you have a story, any story, right, and you want to talk about it, heck, even come on the show. Give us a holler. Holler dollar.
And we're also committing to doing at least one live show a month.
One live show. One. I wanted more, but Manny only wants one. One live show a month.
One live show is good because we are entirely unprofessional and horrible.
And weak.
And weak. Totally weak. Weak at what we do. And we know that because we're blue collar.
Yep. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The unprofessional. You know, they hate us because they ain't us.
Oh, good. At least you didn't say they hate us because they ain't us.
They hate us because they ain't us. That's going to be my motto for this year.
Well, I guess this is goodbye.
All right. From Manny Moonraker and Big O, got you on the next side.
Peace out.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Welcome to UFO Buster Radio with your hosts, Manny Moonraker and Big O.
Welcome everybody with UFO Buster Radio with your hosts, Manny Moonraker and Big O. So this is episode 12 of our installment, and once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Manny, what we got for today?
Well, today we've got some information on some sightings in San Antonio, plus a little bit of a conversation regarding the future of the podcast.
Oh, are we going to talk about our future? Oh, okay. So,
the future.
Let's head off. I have a feeling I'm going to get fired all of a sudden. So what was the sightings in San Antonio?
Well, we had an interesting little sighting here in San Antonio, Texas. So the best thing is that we actually have a video that was posted on the sighting, and it was posted up to YouTube in conjunction with the website UFOsightingsdaily.com. And it looks like the site is pretty much run by an individual. It's more like a blog, but it's posted by Scott Waring. Okay. And the video itself was taken by an individual in San Antonio using an Android phone, an LG, and he took pictures and actually shot some video.
Oh, so he used an Android. You see, people with Apples just need to convert to Android. We catch all the cool stuff.
The video itself is not that bad, but there's a lot of other problems with it. So apparently that day in February of this year, it was raining, and when the guy's taking the video from the inside of his car.
Okay.
The claim is that this is a flying saucer-shaped disc, which is using some kind of camouflage technology.
Okay.
But when you look at the video, what I see really is a raindrop.
You see, now, Manny sent me the video just before we started recording. And I looked at it, and that was my first impression, too. It looks like a raindrop that's being blown by the wind on a windscreen. I didn't even know it was on a windscreen.
And what's weird, too, is that the way this object, a.k.a. droplet, moves in the clouds is really erratic. And in some situations, it looks like the camera movement follows the item, so it doesn't look out of sync. But then there's other situations during the video where it looks completely out of sync. So do I think it's something that somebody hoaxed on purpose? Probably not, but it really doesn't look like anything that we're interested in, right?
Now, what's funny, because when we get into the big old segment, I might actually put a small light on that, which is cool. Now, are we going to talk about what's big, what's new with UFO Buster Radio, or are we going to throw myself in the hot box and the big O?
So maybe it's just me, but did we finish that conversation on the San Antonio thing?
Well, yeah, because it was almost like a hoax.
Oh gosh. Okay, so the future of UFO Buster Radio, and we've been discussing this for a while now, and we're thinking about that we should put together a nice website.
Hey, it'll be another form of way for you guys to contact us, and we can contact you, maybe post a blog or post some videos interest.
So what kind of website do you think we should do? Should we contact our listeners and see what kind of website they want?
Oh, that would be cool, actually. You know, something that is controlled by the people and for the people. A website that it would be more like a forum, I would think, but it would be cool if the listeners would give us the ideas of what will be best for, and something different that other websites don't have.
Maybe we can have our own UFO Buster Radio dating site.
I wonder how that infomercial would go. You know, for those who like extraterrestrials, for those who look up at the stars.
At the stars?
Yeah, at the stars too, right? For those who look up at the stars and wonder if there was more out there, well, you could find your loved one too, who has the same interests as you.
So, by the way, before we move on to the big old segment, did you ever get any feedback on your question last week?
I got none. I'm kind of disappointed. I was really wanting to see if anybody sent me email, and I can go into it and give you the whole list of, you know, what would happen, what ifs, and what would they say. And I got zero. Did anybody contact you?
No, I didn't have any questions.
No. So yeah, I didn't get any contacts, nothing whatsoever. So I'm gonna put it out there again.
Well, shoot, go ahead, let them have it.
Right. So my purpose of this is to get the general population response, and the average Joe Schmo or Jane Doe, what would they do if a UFO, or excuse me, extraterrestrial was directly in front of you, and you're basically acting as the first human contact to talk to a UFO, extraterrestrial, ET, whoever you want to call, the Greys. What would you say? What would you do? That is my question.
So, in the last week, have you posed that question to anyone else?
No. I was hoping I would get, you know, at least 10, maybe 5 people to email me. But this week, I think I'm going to have to carry a recorder and start asking random people. I'm going to go to Walmart at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get somebody who has experienced a UFO touching them.
Well, you know, in Walmart, you might even find the extraterrestrials there also.
Exactly. So, you know, the best place to get the best answers would be Walmart at 2 a.m. Now, to get the weird answers would be Walmart at 4 a.m. because that's where they come out of the bars. go Walmart because that's the only place that's open.
And they only have one register, so everyone's there waiting.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I could just stand right next to that one register and just ask questions. Kind of like a funnel.
So if anyone is interested in responding to that question, please email Big O at
thebig82@gmail.com.
Or
DABIG, don't interrupt me. DABIGO82@gmail.com. Or you could look at the links on UFO Buster. It will have all our links and Twitter information.
Or if you're not comfortable with DIBINGO, you can always email UFOBusterRadio@gmail.com. And like Big O said, in the description of the episode, you'll have all the links there available to you. So it sounds like we are ready to rush into the Big O segment.
Big O! It's showtime!
So what craziness do we have in the Big O section today?
Well, there's actually, we're going to link a few things, and we're going to talk about Area 51. Area 51 has been a shroud of mystery for so long, and it still is.
And popular,
it's
too.
One of those things. Yes, they have tours, to go to the very line of the start of Area 51, the restricted area, and they come back to take pictures of the posters or the signs that says "Do not pass." Lethal force is authorized, which is crazy, but still, whatever. A couple of days ago, somebody launched an air drone into Area 51.
Just because they wanted to, huh?
Just because they're just curious. They have an air drone with a nice, beautiful camera on it, and they decided to fly it around. Now, the person's name is Han Faulkner. Faulkner. Now he decides to launch the drone at Kickaboo Peak, about 26 miles away from the facility. So he flies the drone, and then obviously the moment he starts doing this, the camo dudes in the white, pickup truck were already on him. You can almost see it. Now I'm gonna send Manny the link. He's going to post the link to some of the actual drone flight, and in one of the drone flights you can actually see whether it's a patrol or somebody after him or going towards him to investigate the drone activity, because they have all kinds of sensors out there, pressure sensors, radar sensors to detect who's there by the border. It's almost like stepping into a sovereign nation when you go into Area 51 or by the area.
So basically, they spotted the drone and they decided to go after him?
Well, they just investigated. They're not going after him because technically he is and is not breaking any laws. He's breaking a law because originally I thought Area 51 was restricted airspace, which is not the case. It's prohibited airspace. It's a different category altogether. Restricted airspace has a ceiling, right? A minimum and a beginning ceiling. Like in California, there's a restricted airspace of 2,000 feet minimum, meaning that you can fly an airplane under 2,000 feet and still be okay. But once you go above, that's when it becomes restricted. Area 51 is one of the few places in the world, or the only base in the United States, that even with a satellite taking pictures, you are not allowed to take a picture with a satellite at Area 51. That's considered treason.
So how would they know?
So how what?
How would they know?
Well,
so let's say UFO Buster Radio got together and shot up a low orbit satellite, a CubeSat, and decided just to hover over Area 51 and take pictures. How would they know?
It would be shot down. I'm assuming that signal. I mean, if UFO Buster Radio did this, if we had the gall to actually do this and post it on the internet in any way, shape, or form, it will come back to us. They will trace where the information came from. They will trace the satellite. They will trace who owns the satellite, and blah blah blah. It's not really good news if we do that, and we will be considered, an act of treason, because it is supposedly a top secret military base researching stealth technology. the unofficial is it's a top secret military base reverse engineering UFO technology.
Yeah, Mr. Bob Lazar's favorite place.
Well, speaking of Bob Lazar, I researched him a little bit more, and I watched a full documentary on what he was talking about and how himself said, I did not see any extraterrestrials. He never missed it. 90% of his information is pretty much secondhand. Now, he supposedly worked at or in Area 51 for approximately 6 months. Now, while working there, he did have a chance to have a one-on-one look at a spaceship, so he says. And the inkling that we had was about the gravitational waves and how we now now we know for a fact that it exists. Bob Lazar was talking about gravitational waves and propulsion years ago, right? And so many other scientists who have come forward who were saying that they worked at Area 51 and they're using a propulsion technology. But Bob did, in this interview, which we're going to post, he went into more detail of how the propulsion system worked. Some of the things that I liked or I enjoyed and I put the inkling to was, he says, if you look at the propulsion system and you go directly under the spaceship while looking at it, you can almost look directly through the spaceship. Now, you're probably thinking, how's that possible, right? Magic trick UFO propulsion system. You want to know what that is?
You mean the gravitational waves we talked about?
Correct. Now, not only was it about the gravitational waves, because Einstein theorized this a long time ago, and that's also how, in our solar system, everything revolves around the sun because of its mass. But the other thing that was cool was that the gravitational waves, or anything that is exerting a massive amount of gravity, can actually bend light. I'm going to inkling what you saw in the video and what I saw in the video, what looks like a water drop, to what he was talking about.
So what you're saying is that water drop that we saw in the guy's windshield really is something else?
It could be something else. So I used to think that when you look at, I didn't want to look at glowing orbs anymore because the glowing orb thing was stupid. It was an orb. I mean, why would an orb be anything more than maybe a fireball or, something that's reflecting in the lens that's weird, right? So what I did was, after listening to this documentary with Bob Lazar, was he explained when you're looking at this gravitational wave, right, or the gravitational propulsion system directly at certain angles, you can look completely through the ship. Completely through. Because it's bending the light. Bending the image around the ship because it's creating a distortion around the ship. Which is cool. Which means that all these orbs that you're seeing and not an actual shape or an actual ship is probably because what you're seeing is the distortion from the propulsion system. So in other words, what this individual might have been recording in San Antonio was a ship in mid-gravitational flight? It could be. Now it creates that theory of nothing beyond the realm of possibility has expanded dramatically because, we can't hear it because gravitational waves are pretty silent. We can't really see it other than seeing a distortion. And what we're seeing, it could be like a camouflage or an optical illusion that we think, and actually can be a UFO, extraterrestrial intelligent UFO. Well, I think that the findings recently about the gravitational waves kind of works in Bob Lazar's favor, but there's still other things about him that kind of just don't jive, so we have things like his background and his employment, which really a lot of people just could not verify. Right, but if you take it into account, I mean, granted, he, graduated in MIT, and apparently he is a smart individual. The MIT thing could not be verified either. Really?
Yeah, so a famous ufologist, which you might have heard his name here and there, Stanton Friedman, who's actually a physicist, says at one point that when he was investigating Bob Lazar, he could not confirm whether or not he did attend MIT or not. And I would think that that would be easy to do, especially for a physicist.
Especially for a physicist. Well, so that makes you wonder. But here's the thing, though. It's not just Bob Lazar, right? There were other people who came forward that were saying the same thing, that they are reverse engineering a spaceship of unknown origins, and the propulsion system that was inside the spaceship was not of anything on Earth. It was way more far advanced than we ever known. And what it's doing, it is using gravitational waves, which is great. You know, imagine we reverse engineer that whole... I mean, if it's true, if we reverse engineer that, we'll be able to explore so much.
So now this was back in what, the 1980s, 1970s, that kind of time frame?
Yep, approximately. Because I seen his... If you see what he was wearing, I would say 1980s, mid-80s.
So the problem with that is, so we've had how many years now to work on this? So is it possible that it's already been reverse engineered and it's being used secretly to go outside of the solar system?
Could. Now, he also talked about a fuel that they use that is not really known to mankind. I think element 115 or 117. And this element, not only can we not synthesize it at all, but it was given to us that there is a possibility, but imagine us running out of fuel. We won't be able to fly these machines anymore. It's like having a race car just sitting there because you can't put the right type of gas in it.
So that means that they have to be in constant contact with these individuals.
I think they are not only in constant contact, I truly starting to believe that the United States government and more than just one government agency knows and are in contact currently. I think also that some of these UFO sightings, right, are man-made.
So is it possible that they're trading unipentium, which is the name of element 115, for maybe people, cattle, experimentation?
I would say experimentation. You know, I would think something along the lines of, you know, they're closing a blind eye to what they do to get more information, you know, for the greater good of man. Few must be sacrificed, maybe.
So what else do we have on Mr. Bob Lazar? Well,
you know, he was only there for about 6 months, supposedly. Now, you know, everything's just hearsay. Because 90% of the stuff that he was talking about, he was saying that it was only second-hand information. The only thing that was first-hand information was him actually trying to reverse engineer the spaceship. So I don't know if anything, I don't really want to say anything else he's saying in the interview, because like I said, it was all second-hand information. He did say that, you know, he saw pictures of the extraterrestrials that actually looked like the so-called graves. He also said there was the reason why he was initially hired because 2 died, and he was to replace those 2 while researching the unidentified flying object or the saucer. Other than that, there's not really much about him. After his experience with Area 51, he pretty much dropped off the planet. Well, he just started his own company, and that was just something that he did and that he's either trying to currently talk about, or just letting it go. He's not really going further into it.
So I want to say the last place that he reported living is in Florida.
Really?
Yes.
Well, he did say he was born in Florida, and then he moved out there towards close to Area 51. He had to fly a small plane to get to Area 51. He did in the interview. He did say that he was born in Florida, so he might have came back home. It'd be cool. I want to interview him if he's still alive. I wonder if he would do an interview.
Yeah, I think he actually has not passed. I think he's in his either early 60s or late 60s.
That would be awesome.
Well, actually, he would be he'd probably be in his 70s. Well, he's not going to remember anything, so at this rate, that would be a bad interview.
He's going to be too old to do anything.
Yeah, he's not going to remember nothing.
Oh, man. It would be so cool if we actually had a low-orbiting satellite, though.
I think that we should get together before the end of the year and put together a Kickstart campaign, just like those other guys. And which, by the way, we need to get back to them and see how it went. But really, get a UFO Buster Radio satellite into space, low orbit, and, take pictures.
That would be so awesome. So, we would get a Kickstart. And what would the satellite do? Would it be similar to the other person's satellite?
Well, they have a real scientific, foundation in what they're doing. We're not doing it for science. We're just taking pictures.
So they're definitely going to have a 360-degree angle of what's all around the satellite at all times. Maybe live feed would be awesome.
And we can tie it into our website, and people that are members can use it.
So if you think it's a good idea, give us an email. Give us a call. If you have any better ideas as to what we could put on the website and the low orbiting satellite that we might start once our website is going, we could put the Kickstart link on the website.
Yeah, I think it would be fun, especially if we get our website together and some of our listeners can reach out, join the website, and really stay in tune with what we're doing.
I think that would be a great idea. We're going to definitely hit this up and get that website going. So when you think the website will be start in the process of being made?
Nobody knows.
So
no promises, but I would say that it should be done before the end of May.
Really? That soon?
Yeah, pizza cake.
Wow.
Cakewalk.
So, in case you guys don't know, Manny's the whiz of this show. He does all the editing, and he does pretty much 90% of the contact with the folks. Me, I'm the lazy one.
So with that said, again, we want to make sure that everyone knows that we do still have our number intact. And if you have any sightings you want to report, you can call 972-290-1329 and, share your experience with us. I did have someone that I know of who recently reached out to me, and her husband drives trucks, long distance, long haul. And him and his partner actually saw a UFO not too long ago. And so we should be hearing from them as far as what their experience was.
You know what? You just brought up a cool idea that I would like to imply. All you truckers who believe in UFOs or just curious about it, is there any way that you guys could put a small camera on the top of the cab of the truck pointing up? So when you're going from one place to another, especially if you're a on-the-road trucker, going from one state to another, that would be awesome if you have a camera constantly pointing up or pointing at an angle, at a 45-degree angle of where you're going. And we can capture that.
Well, most of the truckers have cameras inside their sleeping cabin.
Yeah, but the cameras are pointing at themselves most of the time, too.
Right. So the video you might get might not be exactly...
Yeah, I don't want to know what they're doing. If they're picking their nose or eating or popping pills, I don't want to know about that stuff. Because that's kind of scary. So if you're a responsible trucker and you want to help the cause, it would be awesome if you point a camera actually facing the sky. So as you're driving, we might pick up a UFO in high definition.
And we would love to see it.
We would. Or if you're a trucker, period, and you have experience of both paranormal or UFO or extraterrestrial, let us know. And if you're telling us that extraterrestrial pulled you over because you had one too many pills, we might dismiss it.
Or we might have you on the show and do the interview live.
There you go.
Well, I guess that's the end
of
of
for next weekend. No, it's not the end. It's not the end. What's going on for next weekend?
I guess this is the end of this episode. We do have a guest which will be showing up next week.
Oh, what's the guest's name?
I don't think I can give the name yet. But however, the topic will be Nephilim and Anunnaki.
Ooh, that sounds like a really badass name. They should have like a Abenaki tattoo style.
You can have a tattoo if you want.
I do. I'm going to get another one. It's going to have Abenaki.
Yeah, but I think it's the Anunnaki. I don't know what the Abu is, but...
Oh, Anunnaki, yeah, that too.
Anyway, so she'll be on here next week with us. Big O promises to be nice.
No, I don't. Wait, when did I make that promise?
I think
I
about
didn't
a month
make that
ago.
promise.
It was like a month ago.
No. So we're going to have a guest, and apparently he gave away the gender of the guest. It's going to be a female, so I have to be nice.
Yeah, because we know how you roll.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, Big O, it's time to sign off.
All right. So, to all you folks out there, this is UFO Buster Radio with Manny Moonraker and Big O. Giving you
Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week with our special guest. It should be fun.
Bye.
Adios.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Welcome to UFO Buster Radio with your hosts, Manny Moonraker and Big O.
Welcome to UFO Buster Radio with your hosts, Manny Moonraker and Big O. And this is our 13th installment. And today we have a great stuff to talk about today. But what are we going to talk about and what are we doing today, Manny?
Well, lucky episode number 13. And aren't we fortunate that we have a guest? But before we talk to our guest, we have to talk about our favorite morning show.
Oh, are you talking about Dave?
Dave in the Morning and the Crude. So just recently, Donna from Dave in the Morning Show is back to work, so she's not really regular on the show.
Well, you know, we all miss Donna, but Dave and his multiple personalities, his schizophrenia, is doing pretty good. I've been listening to his shows religiously every day.
Well, you know, my favorite right now is, of course, Jerome.
Oh, I love Jerome.
I'm hoping that we can get Jerome on the show to hang out with us and talk about the UFO stuff live.
Oh, that would be awesome. And, you know, Jerome is going to show us how it's done.
I'm sure he is. He's a pretty professional type of guy.
He is. So, who's our special guest, Manny?
Well, it turns out we have our own Donna now. And so we have Donna, which originally was on the show, what was that, like 6 years ago, Donna?
Yeah, I think so.
6 years ago, we had Donna, or I had Donna on the show because there was no Big O back then.
That's why the show took a break for 6 years.
It sure did. It sure did. So, the topic that we have on the table for this episode is the Anunnaki and Nephilim.
That's going to be interesting. Now, I do have a big question for Donna. Donna, are you ready for the question?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, if an extraterrestrial was to show its presence right in front of you, and you are basically acting as an ambassador to the world, what would you do or say? Now remember, any actions you take or any actions that you say could mean ultimate peace and technology or complete destruction of the world. What would you do?
It's pretty simple for me. I would say, get thee behind me, Satan.
You see, and that really opens up the door to our topic this week, doesn't it?
Yes,
It does.
So, Donna, go ahead and share your wealth of knowledge about these Nephilim and Anunnaki, because there's just too much out there right now.
First off, I want to say that as a Bible-believing Christian, I believe that the Bible is inerrant, that it as true yesterday as it is today and will be tomorrow, and that God gave us the Bible to instruct us and to tell us everything that we need to know to survive until Christ returns. There's a lot of different information regarding like Old Testament stories about the flood and the Nephilim, and there's a lot of scholars that have dissected the Bible and researched on what it could be for us today. One of the things that we've learned is that there are UFOs, and you can't deny that there are UFOs, and that people are seeing them, and they're around, and they're not going away. They're becoming more and more visible. And as a Bible-believing Christian, I do not believe that they're benevolent. I believe that there is a malicious nature behind it, and I believe that a lot of it is deceitful, and it is demonic.
So going back to the flood, was the Anunnaki or the Nephilim, did they have a hand in that?
Well, the way that the Bible, I guess you could go back to Genesis with Adam and Eve and the serpent, and when there was sin introduced into the world, the curse was on, not just on them, but on the earth. So basically, God gave ownership of the earth to Satan, and his promise is that there would be a Redeemer, which, as you know, is Jesus Christ. A lot of what the enemy does is he tries to foil God's plan. And one of the ways that, in theory, that he could foil the plan is that he would dirty up the gene pool. Because our Redeemer, our Savior, Jesus Christ, does not come through a polluted gene pool. However, they would do it, and they can do anything. You can never, assume that just because we were stupid and behind in technology does not mean that they are. So whatever they did, which comes from the story of the fallen angels or the sons of God, is the term that's used in the Old Testament, having relations with the daughters of man, which is antediluvian, which is pre-flood, the daughters of Adam. And that would pollute up the bloodline. So then as time goes on, and mind you, there's, back then, there were not a lot of people to procreate with, so they had this very small gene pool that they were working with. We literally believe that Adam and Eve and their children had to procreate with each other. And when that stopped, it was the flood, actually. That's when God said that he didn't want man to procreate with each other. They had to go outside of their family lines. But at the flood, the earth was so polluted that there was only one line that was left that was not polluted. And you can read it in the story of the flood. It says that Noah was the only perfect left in his generation. And we know that perfect doesn't mean what it says, because nobody's perfect. You could read later on after flood and show that he was still a sinner. He was a drunk, and he laid around naked. And so he had a total, wipeout. The earth was, cleansed. And suddenly, after the flood, we see these same groups of people, and then you can identify them in the Bible by the ites, Canaanites, Jebusites. All of those ites are divisions of the Nephilim.
So the Nephilim, would you say then that the flood occurred because of the things that the Nephilim were pretty much up to on the earth at that time?
Oh, totally. They polluted the whole gene pool. How is the Redeemer going to come through if it wouldn't happen? He had to cleanse the gene pool. And you'll see stories after the flood where God when When God sent Abraham into the land of Canaan, the Canaanites were giants, and that's the word that's used. That's where the word Nephilim is used. They were told to go and destroy every man, woman, and child in some of these tribes. And we know God is a loving God. He comes off as this, horrible, deity. But in fact, if you think about it, he's trying to stem this pollution of we're created in the image of God. He says that. So if we're created in the image of God, and there's all this pollution, that Christ cannot come through, in that.
The only issue I have with this whole story is that there's very little proof. There's some, but not anything too much when it comes to scientific fact. For example, everything is based off of perception. So one person could read the Bible and have a completely different perception of another person. I mean, I understand that you read the Bible and you're devoted to your religion, and it's wonderful. It's very nice for me to hear. But, I mean, how much of this is actual fact?
Okay, so I'm going to actually go back to history a little bit.
Oh, that's awesome.
If you're familiar with Judaism, they are, and mind you, the Old Testament is in Hebrew. It's not, it's not a Christian thing. It's Judaism. Okay. Every word that's written in the Septuagint, the first 5 books of the Bible, when a young boy grows up and he goes through his bar mitzvah, they had to literally memorize every word of everything that had been written from the point of the beginning till the point that they did that. So it's not like it's a written word that can be changed here and there. It's an oral history. Now, that in itself is an amazing thing. You have to look at also that in the Bible, you're going to find more than one reference to things. Now, I agree with you how when you go to a situation, there can be several different perceptions of what is happening. And you see that also with the life of Christ. You have different viewpoints from different men from different aspects of life. So if you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they're all different perceptions of one man's life. And they're going to be different here and there. But they all have the same message at the base of it. So that in itself is a proof that it's a way to prove that it's a fact, that Jesus really was there. Now, go back in the Old Testament, you have these people, and this is a nation of people that have survived from the time of Abraham up until even now. And for thousands and thousands of years, they didn't even have a homeland, but they still had their religion, they still had their language, they still had their beliefs, and they kept them, even without even having homeland, spread all over the world. How amazing is that?
So, Donna, after the cleansing of the planet by the flood, what exactly happens to the Nephilim and / Anunnaki?
Okay, so during the flood, obviously they weren't destroyed. I mean, the fallen angels weren't destroyed. Okay, we know that. Where did they go? We don't know. There's okay, I don't know if you're familiar with C.S. Lewis. He is a very famous Christian writer, and he's very close with the Lord. And he pointed out that, okay, I'm just going to read the quote. C.S. Lewis thought it's not out of the ordinary that each planet be under the governmental jurisdiction of a single great angel. We know that the four winged cherubim surround the throne of God. The archangel Michael is especially charged with Israel. Other angels, fallen and unfallen, oversee the affairs of the nations. Lucifer, he is over our planet, and he was actually the prime minister of the universe. This is in the Bible, the prime minister of the universe before he was tossed out of heaven. So if you think about where they could possibly go, where are these angels at? And they didn't go away because they're angels. I mean, they're not necessarily, even though that they can come as human and do all the things that humans do, they can appear as, anything that they want to appear as, they can go anywhere. even though we know that there's a group of them that were thrown into Tartarus, which is, it's not hell, it's, and you might recognize a lot of the Greek, because a lot of this is based in mythology, and we know that mythology is not like an invention. It's based on traditions, memories, and legends of a culture of people. So a lot of the names that you're going to hear in the Greek mythology. So they were tossed into Tartarus, and they're still there. These same fallen angels that were cohabitating with the daughters of men.
From a contemporary standpoint, where are they? How do we experience these fallen angels which are still around?
All right, we're going to go into the paranormal a little bit, because a lot of people they relate more to the paranormal than they do to the Bible. But the thing is about the paranormal is that it all has a basis in the Bible. We were commanded to not reach out and talk to the dead. So we know that there is a spiritual existence beyond death based on that. And we're also told to stay away from the occult, things like Ouija boards and talking to, because you're opening up your mind and your life to evil and demonic forces. And we're also taught that we war not against flesh, but we war not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities of the darkness and the heavenly hosts. We are surrounded by it on a daily basis. There are different ways that can appear to us as men. The Bible also says that to not turn away a stranger because you don't know if you're entertaining an angel. I mean, they could be sitting in front of you talking to you and you wouldn't even know it. Satan himself is said he can appear as an angel of light, and we know that he's no such thing. But the fact that he can do it, why couldn't there be UFOs and things that people are seeing that couldn't be a demonic apparition? We don't know that. So this is all theory.
So from looking at this from a point of someone that follows Christianity, UFOs essentially could be fallen angels?
Oh, definitely. I totally believe that. And Chuck Missler, and I'll give you some names of people that if people want to go out and do some research on their own. Chuck Missler, Lambert Dolphin, he's a physicist, and he has a lot of articles about like what we see as science. And Big O said something about, well, I need scientific proof. There aren't a lot of science in the Bible that, the Bible says that the earth is round. We didn't figure that out until what? Centuries and centuries later. So if you want to like do some research on your own, Chuck Missler, Lambert Dolphin, Ray Stedman has written a lot of stuff. And Chuck Missler actually has some YouTube videos talking about the Nephilim and the UFO connection.
One of the connections that I had with the Nibiru and Anunnaki connection was the whole, how they correlate to each other. Like just recently, we are finding out that there's a planet that is almost what the Anunnaki was saying. There was a planet that comes around every 3,500 years, but this planet's orbit is supposedly a whole lot longer than that, though. So, what are your thoughts on that? Considering that, even though it has nothing to do with UFOs or anything like that, we've just now discovered supposedly, technically, Planet X, which was supposed to be Nibiru.
Well, there's a lot of discussions in the Bible about, the stars. I mean, it's not the three wise men were led to the birth of Christ by a star in the sky, and that led them to the birth of Christ. I mean, how amazing is that? Well, Lambert Dolphin did an article called "Exploding Planets in Ancient Catastrophes," and it's really interesting. He put on here that the Greeks and the Romans believed that there were 5 planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter and Saturn. The names for 5 gods. And then history goes down. A man named Johannes Kepler started believing that there should be a 6th planet in there based on spacing between, because as the planets go out from the sun, it it doubles. The distance doubles between them. So there's a space in there where there should have been a sixth planet. Then as time goes on, and a man named Johann David Titus, he noted the curious spacing as each planet was twice the distance from the sun. In 1778, this was actually formulated as a law, which led to intensive research for this missing planet. And then January 1801, the mystery planet unfolded when they found fragments that were discovered in the asteroid belt. But what if these, it could be so amazing that what if these, the asteroid belt and the stuff in the asteroid belt was not the sixth planet, but maybe Nibiru. So there's so much to speculate. There's so much to speculate on this. It's fascinating.
So, Donna, when you hear stories where people are saying that this planet X9 Nibiru or what have you, when this planet is supposedly, I guess another take on it is that the Anunnaki inhabit the planet, and the reason that things went wrong on the planet Earth was because they were visiting Earth and messing with the gene pool and also pretty much mining the planet in order to kind of fix Nibiru. So do you think that there's any basis in that angle with what you read and reference from your other sources that are from a Christian point of view?
Okay, so we know that we are not God's only creation. Obviously, there are angels, and all angels are messengers of God. That's what it literally means. So we're not the only creation, and it's not above and beyond the realm of belief to me that there would be a planet called Nibiru that had aliens on it that were messing with the gene pool. That's not out of the realm of belief for me. Now, there may be the others because they may be thinking that, well, we're God's only creation and we're special and blah, 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 but that's not the truth. You can just read the Old Testament or the New Testament for yourself and see that there are other creations. And as we're coming to go in our scientific knowledge, there's more than, one dimension. Now they're discovering that there's multiple dimensions. And, I personally believe that heaven as we know it is in this dimension. I want to go back to the Nibiru thing, though. Part of the end time prophecy, and I can speak a lot about this, by the way. Part of the end time prophecy is that there will be signs in the heavens, and how amazing, though, that we have this coming out that there's this planet that is going to blow everything off its trajectory. That's a scary thing. Part of it is that one of the things is that half the moon is going to be gone. Think about half the moon being gone. And how would that happen?
Well, I hope it's the dark side of the moon because we don't see it anyway.
That's where half of the aliens supposed to be are per Apollo missions anyway.
So, Big O, you had some other questions that you wanted to ask Donna.
Well, wow. I mean, there's so much information.
There is. There really
is. It's so ridiculous. I mean, I looked up and they was talking about how, post-flood, how, the alien, the Nibiru, or Anunnaki, whatever you want to call them at this point.
Nephilim, whatever.
Yeah. They're still there. But here's one thing I did want to ask. Now, the Book of Enoch.
Yes.
Right? Now,
it's Apocrypha, yes.
Why is it taken out of the regular Bible and left in the Old Testament or the King James Testament? Now, that kind of strikes me a little bit weird that there's so many different types of Bibles.
Okay, I'll answer this.
Oh,
when they created the Bible, okay, back when the church first started, and it goes back to a conference that they had. I don't remember the name of it. I didn't. If I had the question, if I had the question before you asked, I could get the answer for you.
Uh-huh.
So basically, when they created the Bible, they had different things that they were looking for, and a lot of it is that information would have to be repeated somewhere else, so that you couldn't just read something and say, "Well, it says it there, but it doesn't say it there." And that's why you have people that, they try to find controversial things in the Bible because there's nowhere else that it says it, and no other author has written it somewhere else. So that's one of the things that they look for. Another thing they look for is, God, you have to understand that. People like me believe that God revealed his word through men. So these men were given the word of God from God. there are different things that they're looking for as far as things that happen in history, what's being spoken, who's saying it. Now, Enoch, very, very important person in the Old Testament, is one of the people believed God took, he was taken from the world without dying. He was one of only a couple people that this happened with. He was actually removed from the world without having to die. And he's actually thought that he might be one of the witnesses in the end time prophecy. So we have him, and the reason why his stuff isn't in the Bible is because a lot of these apocrypha books are more like a historical, not so much studied to be the actual Word of God. Does that make sense? Because when we're reading the Bible, we're thinking this is from the mouth of God. And a lot of the books that these people write are not out of the mouth of God. Does that make sense?
It does.
So essentially what we're saying is that the book was removed because it wasn't authentic enough?
Not authentic. It's not the Word of God. But it doesn't mean it doesn't have just as much valuable proof in it, maybe a historical sense. So I believe that it should be read in a historical sense, but not necessarily, because you have to remember that men have ideas and theories, like I'm speaking of now,
like Big O,
that
whatever,
that are not coming from God.
Oh yeah,
but
that's Big O all the way.
But it's not actually coming from the mouth of God. But it could be a valid resource for historical. And, I'm not saying that anything in it is a lie, because, wasn't it a Dead Sea Scroll? I mean, you can't fake that stuff, right? So, maybe a lot of what he was saying was based on his own personal theories, but not a direct line from God.
Okay, so after the flood, where God decided, you know what, there's enough sin, there's enough destruction on mankind, so you say, right? And he let Noah's family and Noah's gene pool, which is the purest when it comes to DNA, hence the word perfect, not when it comes to behavior, but just, his gene pool wasn't destroyed by, the fallen angels, right? After all that is said and done, there were still some left over. True or false?
It is. It's true, because you can read after the flood, and that's what I was saying, was Abraham was told to go into the land of the Canaanites. And
right.
I said that all the ice tribes are divisions of Nephilim, and that's where the mystery is. Like, where are they coming from? The fallen angels obviously didn't die. Where did that type of gene pool, or that poison gene pool, where did that come from again? So that's where my mind wanders. And like I said, we're made in the image of God, and God is a logical being. He created us to be thinking beings. And it's okay to reason with the facts that we're given and have this imagination of what it could be. And I've spoken of this before with Manny, that I believe that, they have the means to be in space because, they're way above what we are. Where could they have gone? They could have gone somewhere else, and maybe they could have gone to Nibiru. That's definitely a valid thing in my mind.
So basically, your point of view is not technically extraterrestrial that's on Nibiru. It's actually the fallen angels that's left over from the flooding. They decided to, you know what, let's leave this alone and start our own stuff on a distant planet.
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly.
That is definitely a new perception I didn't think of. What do you think,
Yeah.
Manny?
Well, I guess, Donna, since we're here in this part about perception, give us your perception about UFO. When you see this and you turn on the news, the internet, what have you, and you see UFO sightings and you see orbs and all this kind of stuff, what is it that you perceive from your perspective?
The conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. It's a demonic conspiracy. First off, what it's doing is it's making people believe that there's not a God. Okay, that's the biggest thing. And you have to remember that Satan is alive and well, and he is walking to and from this planet, devouring like a lion. Those are the words used. He is seeking to devour all of us. And the biggest way that he can do this is to accept the relationship that we have with God. If we doubt that he's there, how are we going to believe the gospel message? We have I'm sorry, repeat that question one more time. I just lost it.
Just basically, what's your perception when you see these items being portrayed in the news or the internet as far as UFOs?
I think that they're showing us what they want us to see. I think that there's no gray men as much as a perception of a gray man. I think that it's a lie, and I think that, I believe that the gene pool is still poisoned. I think that there is a percentage of this world that is like that, and I have my theories on these specific lines of bloodlines that are like that. There is a theory that the Antichrist will have this alien, quote-unquote, DNA in it. I think that they're here, and I think that the government is very much aware of it. I think that there are very influential families in this world that are very much aware of it and possibly are more personally affected by it than the rest of us. And I think that we're going to see them more and more. I think that more and more things are going to happen the closer we get to Armageddon.
So my thing is, taking what you said, that even though what I hear and what you're saying to me, one of the previous episodes, I found that in the Catholic religion, the Vatican has an observatory, and one of the, I guess, the head guy, the head person of the Vatican, of the observatory, stated, I've never seen a UFO, but if I ever meet an extraterrestrial, he didn't see it as a demonic, apparition or anything like that. He says that if I ever see an extraterrestrial, I would love to be the first to baptize an extraterrestrial.
Well, there is another idiom that you can find in the Bible, and it's beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. I don't believe that everybody is of God. I don't believe that everybody has intentions, godly intentions. I believe that even people in the church, and you can see this every day when you watch news stories of, pastors and doing horrible things, and these are supposed to be shepherds of our flocks.
Right.
I don't believe that everybody with a religious title is where they're supposed to be. Okay. I have to be careful what I say, though.
Yeah, be careful, because we don't want to get banned by the Vatican, too.
We already got Hillary Clinton on us, the FBI on the CIA. Might as well just throw in the Vatican. It'll be done.
So listen, guys, we're coming down on time, but something you said, Donna, kind of leads into this little debate that I have with Big O going back and forth as far as when it comes to full UFO disclosure, someone ends up on the White House, at the Kremlin, what have you, big UFO there, aliens come out. How would the general public react? I'm of the idea that right now the aliens are so mainstream that it'll be okay. Big O, on the other hand, thinks that what?
Well, my theory is when you have an extraterrestrial being that's more powerful, right, they're going to automatically assume that's going to be like Jesus, and it's going to challenge a lot of people's religion. Now, I personally... Well, not yours, obviously, but it's going to challenge a lot of people's religion, a lot of people's faith, because everybody believes that there's only one true God, which is Jesus Christ, or whoever God is. My religion is different. I won't disclose it, but
I think it's called beer and wine.
That too. And my thing is, if God, or if a UFO comes out or an extraterrestrial comes out on your front lawn, right? It's going to create so much anarchy and so much, disorder that is one of the reasons why the truth embargo is out right now. What do you think, Donna?
First off, I don't think that this would happen. If it did happen, I think that it would be, you would have two groups of people. You would have the sheep, and you would have the sheep. And the difference in those two sheep is who are they following. You have a group of sheep that are following the world and the worldliness of the world, and then you have another group of people that are following the Lord. And we are also told to beware of people saying, "Out in the desert, Jesus is there." We're warned against people that are proclaiming that they're Christ, because Christ was very specific on how he would return, and UFO is neither one of those ways. So. Yeah, I think that it would be a very scary situation if it happened.
So, Donald, you have to pick a side. Am I right? Is Big O right? I mean, come on.
I think it would be. I don't think that. I believe that we're, as a race, we are definitely about our freedom and our rights and our right to own, our world and to do what we want on it. And we're rebellious like that. I think that it would be a brawl. I think that we would see war, definitely.
So you're technically picking my side, Manny.
Whatever, I'm
just saying.
I'm disconnecting you right now. You're done, mister.
Technically,
she picked my side, so it's okay. You see, that's why I like Donna.
I don't believe they're benevolent. I don't. I think that they're not benevolent.
It's not going to be peaceful times. It's not.
Why do I hear
that
rooster?
What? And that rooster completely agrees with me. You see? It's like 3 against 1 right now.
Whatever. Well, guys, we're coming to the end of the show. Donna, what do you think? You think you'll come back?
No, totally. I'm having a blast. This is fun. And give me harder questions, Big O.
Oh, Big O, yeah. Big O. Mm-hmm.
And I was told I had to be nice the first round, so...
No, you be mean. I don't care.
Oh, no, Donna. No, Donna, no. Please don't say that.
All right, so we're going to have her back in 2 weeks, right? So that record can be prepared.
You know what? We'll leave that up to Donna whenever she's available, and we can have her back.
Whenever.
So if anyone wants to leave any questions or comments for Donna that we can share with her, please look at the show description. We'll have our contact information and the roosters too, and also the ones for Big O. So Big O can also answer some of that. And we'll forward that over to Donna, and maybe on the next show she can, have some live conversations with people.
And some fried chicken, because
fried
I'm wanting some food right now.
This rooster, I hate it.
Well, Donna, thank you for...
I thought they'll be crowed in the morning, and it's all day long. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, he's really worked up. I don't know why.
He hears the Big O voice. So,
yeah.
Oh, man. What an awesome show.
Well, Donna, thank you for joining us this time around.
Okay.
I hope you were still recording, because that would be awesome for the blooper reel.
Yeah, we are recording, Big O.
All right, one more time.
All right, so go ahead and end the show.
All right, thank everybody for joining us on UFO Buster Radio. This is our special guest, Donna, in the back.
And the rooster.
Our special guest was Rooster, Donna, and Manny. God, that just killed me.
All right, well, we'll see you guys on episode 14, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Say bye, Donna.
Freaking rooster. Bye.
Hey, this is Manny here. I just wanted to add a little note to the end of the show. Shortly after we ended the recording, a few minutes later, I got this message from Donna, which those of you who've listened to the end of the show will find very interesting.
So, hey, this is Donna again. I just wanted to let you know that the very minute I got off the phone, the rooster stopped crowing. So, I think there's some validity to this Nephilim demonic rooster. Just a thought. All right, bye.